Hello everyone, my name is Rochelle Innocent and I'm the founder and CEO of Project Purpose. Welcome to our YouTube channel. Our community is focused on fostering the intellectual and character development in children. We do this through our parent-child workshops that focus on 4 themes: autonomy, self-efficacy, compassion, and self-concept, in order to cultivate grit, perseverance, and resilience in each child. At Project Purpose, our overarching mandate is to renew and rebuild families, communities, and relationships. Our YouTube platform provides us with a space where we can have discussions on all topics that relate to families, communities, and relationships with ourselves as well as with others, with a primary focus on mental health and education. More precisely, the ways that the institutions of mental health and education play a role and have played a role in our societies at large. These discussions and debates provide us with an opportunity to reflect on what needs to change within these structures in order for us to live up to our bold slogan: support, protect, and empower each child through youth-focused development, better known as leadership in juvenescence. We recognize that in order for our children to thrive, it also translates as recreating and co-creating spaces, both socially and politically. For those of you who are particularly interested in the topic, we also do write thought pieces every other Sunday. We just dropped a blog this past Sunday, so definitely be sure to go to our website, check us out, and definitely subscribe to our website once you're done watching this video. Now, as is the YouTube convention, please do subscribe, hit that post notification bell so that you're aware of every time we post. And of course, if you like our conversations and you want to keep them going, like, comment, and share this video. Let's get into it. Hello everyone again, and welcome back to our YouTube channel. This week we are covering mental health. So for those of you who are new, welcome to Project Purpose's YouTube channel. We discuss topics that vary from mental health, education, as well as mental wellness, and we cover them on a week-by-week basis. So this week is mental health. So if you're very interested in these topics, I encourage you, for those of you who are new, to subscribe, and for those of you who are returning, welcome. I'm so happy that you're back. As you can see in the description, our discussion today is about how to deal and overcome stress and anxiety. And so I'm providing the 3 different attitudes that I find help me with stress and anxiety. I've mentioned in a few videos I'm an overthinker, and I've been able to manage that quite well, adopting some of these strategies and these ways of being. So I want to share those with you. I just wanted to share some statistics before getting into the topic. So here in Canada, 1 in 5 Canadians are going to experience a mental health issue at some point in their life. And then more precisely, as we kind of funnel down those metrics, 1 in 2 Canadians are going to have a mental health issue by the time that they are 40. Now, these metrics are also very much translatable to the States. The numbers are fairly similar, if not exactly the same. But we need to keep in mind a couple of things. One is that mental health and mental illness, the spectrum of mental illness, is a very, very broad bucket. So we categorize and define a lot of things as, categorically mentally ill. And let's also just be mindful of the fact that having a period of mental illness, based on our societal definition of what that means, it doesn't mean that you're unstable. If you're experiencing grief for an extended period of time, that would translate as mental illness. If you're experiencing stress and you're not able to cope for an extended period of time, then that would be considered a mental illness. So just as sometimes we have colds or we have infections or we have viral infections, they're not sort of these stigmas that live with us forever. You have a cold, you take your cold medicine, or you drink lots of fluids, and you drink that homemade remedy of honey, cayenne, and a little bit of whiskey maybe, and you're better. So I think we need to adopt the same attitude with mental health, and we also need to be mindful of the fact that there's a lot of misdiagnosis going on. There's a lot of people who their first rule of sort of engagement when they are experiencing a mental health or a mental health concern is medication, and to go get a prescription from the doctor. And I've mentioned before that there's way too many prescriptions being doled out, and I think a lot of the people who are on prescriptions probably most likely have the tools or have available to them the tools that they need to get through those difficult, tough times. But unfortunately, we're in a society where it's easy to have access to medication, and that's typically the go-to route. But hopefully that changes, and hopefully as we start having conversations around cultivating grit, resilience, and perseverance, then we find less people feeling as though they can't push through some of those difficult times without prescribed medical support. Sometimes I think about just some of the norms within society, and it reminds me of that book, A Brave New World. I'm not sure if you've read it, but I personally did not enjoy it whatsoever. But some of the themes within that book talk about, the moment that one experiences a little hint of sadness, they take a pill, and some of even the societal themes in that book, it's uncanny the parallels that exist here in North America, well, Canada and the States specifically. But anyways, I'm digressing. Let's move on. You're here to hear about the 3 attitudes that help with stress and anxiety. So let's jump into the first attitude. First attitude that helps me with stress and anxiety is just being very mindful of the fact that the past no longer exists and the future is uncertain. This one is really important for me because a lot of the times when we're feeling stressed or we're feeling anxious, we're not in the present, we're thinking ahead. We're sort of mulling over different scenarios that could take place, and we're sort of catastrophizing those things. And I've mentioned before, I'm an intellectualizer. I overthink everything, and at one point I needed to sort of deal with that habit because it was really debilitating for my mental health, and I needed to find ways to put anchors, put limits on it. So I guess there are 3 components to, the past no longer exists and the future is uncertain. As it relates to the past, it's really straightforward. What has happened, there's no opportunity to go back in time, so there's no reason for me to dwell on past events, dwell on how I wish past events could have gone, or things of that nature. So it's more of an attitude of letting go what I can't control, letting go of the past. And I have a mantra that I'm going to share with you, and it's, let come, let go, let flow. And that's really just helped me manage and come to terms and be at peace with things that have taken place in my past life. When it comes to being anxious about the future, there's this fallacy of what if, where we run through all these different what if scenarios, and we think that that's helpful, but truly it isn't. And in fact, it cannibalizes on our present. It cannibalizes on our ability to enjoy these present moments because we're too busy in the future. And when we stop and think about the fact that even if we plan things to a T, even if we're hyper-organized, and even if we're setting goals, as I do, and even if we're striving towards our dreams and our aspirations and those things we want to accomplish in life, the future's uncertain. There's no guarantee that any of the things that we work towards are going to take place. It doesn't mean we don't continue to work towards it, but it means that reality should play into our understanding of how much time we should allow future thinking to sort of cannibalize in our present moment. It's great if your concern is great to resolve that concern, but to dwell on a future that no one can predict is really just, it's not helpful to you, it's not helpful to those around you. So you need to think about how much time is a healthy amount of time to think about future events, to organize yourself around it, and then to just leave it to chance, because preparedness and opportunity are sort of the juxtaposition between things happening for you in your life. But preparedness doesn't guarantee anything, right? And thinking about all these worst case scenarios doesn't guarantee that they're going to happen or that they're not going to happen. So it's very important to just remember that the future is always uncertain, no matter how prepared you are for it. Last one is doing away with worry and regret. Worry is very crippling, and I'm not sure how you experience worry, but whenever I feel worried, I feel paralyzed, I feel like I'm frozen, and it's just a very consuming emotion. And so what I realize is, I think worry is like the buildup when you don't manage concern. So if there's something that you're concerned with, it's very important that you immediately figure out what it is that you need to do to resolve that concern, and then put it away. Whatever is within your control, do that, but don't let it build up into worry, because worry is where the opportunity to act turns into inaction and you feel this state of paralysis. So to avoid that state of paralysis, I definitely ensure that when I have a concern, I address the concern as soon as I possibly can, and I don't let it sort of build up in my mind into this worry that's paralyzing and that keeps me stuck in time. And so that's number one. The past no longer exists other than in our memory of it. It's no longer there for us to sort of meander and play around with. It's sort of in stone, and the future is uncertain. So like having that attitude and having sort of the mantra of let come, let go, let flow has helped me just be more mindful of the time that I have in this present moment. The second attitude that I want to share with you is you can withstand more than you think. I think a lot of us assume a certain degree of fragility in our capacity to withstand the tough times in life, and tough times are part of life. Like again, I think I mentioned earlier, as I mentioned earlier, sometimes I feel like the attitudes that we've adopted within our society is like a Brave New World. And that's a book and everyone should read it. I didn't enjoy it, but it is still an interesting thought experiment to sort of ponder. But people have a very low threshold to deal with the tough times. And life is about the good times and the tough times. And in fact, would we appreciate the good times as much were it not for the tough times that we have been through? Like me, I can say I'm a free spirit. I'm a nomad, and that definitely just by default makes me a nonconformist. Now, I would say I'm an anti-conformist because, where I could probably toe the line, sometimes I choose not to. But it's just my nature. I'm someone who I just want to do the things that I have in mind to do, and I don't feel this pressure to conform and to, be as society expects of me. It's just not something that appeals to me personally. I have very little regard for conventions and, the expectations that I change who I am to fit who other people want me to become. I very much like who I am and how that translates. But there's this Mexican proverb that someone shared with me, and it's, the hammer that sticks out gets the hammer. And this is so true. When you live in your true authentic self, you stand out, when you don't make yourself small to fit in. Society has a way of really punishing you for that, right? It's like, it can be really challenging at times to just live in your authentic truth, be a free spirit, do the things that appeal to you, that you enjoy, because that's not what people want. People want you to fit into a box. And if you don't fit in the box, like there are different ways to sort of punish you for that. And I think that the one thing that I've learned, and it feeds into this attitude, is I'm okay. I'd rather deal with the ramifications of standing out, which means you get the good, the bad, and the ugly from the people around you who see you and who can poke at you and really exploit your vulnerability, or you can conform and hide yourself. And I would much rather deal with the riffraff that comes with being my authentic self and being a free spirit and kind of being uninhibited than trying to make myself small so that people feel comfortable. But there is punishment that goes with that. And I will tell you, I've been through tough times. I've had every aspect of my life crumble beneath my feet. And I think that it's happened cyclically. It's not even just happened once. I've had to rebuild my life a couple of times. And one thing I can tell you is I would do it again, and I would do it again because it typically is a byproduct of me being a free spirit and living in my authentic truth and recognizing that sometimes that means you have to let certain things go. But that involves a lot of heartache at times. It can be very debilitating at times. It can be demotivating even at times. But then the freedom that comes with it is always so priceless. And I'm happy to deal with the cyclical nature of life, of letting go and bringing in anew. And I find that sometimes those cycles can be fairly volatile when you live in your authentic truth, but don't make any apologies for it. I'd much rather sacrifice in my life than compromise who I am to make those around me feel comfortable. So for you, if you're dealing with a similar situation, it is always so much better just to stand out in your light, stand out in your authentic self, regardless of who gets irritated by that, than to try to make yourself small to fit in and make other people feel comfortable. And it's funny because I've mentioned I've been through some serious tough times, and I've always been able to rebuild, and I rebuild out of sheer will, out of determination. I commit to myself that I grow through what I go through, and if life gets tough, then it's an opportunity for me to skill up and develop the skills that I need to kind of get through that aspect of life, and I always feel better, stronger, more prepared, wiser by the end of it. Kind of a note to you, you're tougher than you think. Give yourself more credit. You have no idea the power that lives within you to survive, and you're never going to know the depth of that power if you don't step into the unknown, if you don't sort of make peace with ambiguity, make peace with uncertainty, and just live, So the last tip in dealing with stress and anxiety is find the joy in now and recognizing that waiting is overrated. The future is unknown, and if we can plan for the future, we can hope for the future, but we can't wait for happiness in the future. It's important that we experience some happiness right now. So still build, but learn to enjoy the process, the highs, the lows. These are things that you're going to look back on, and you're going to cherish these memories, even the times where you're crying on the floor, complete mess. There's going to be a moment in your life, probably, where you reflect on that, and it's going to bring a smile to your face. Just laugh when you want to cry. There are times in my life where I wanted to cry, and I was so exasperated by the situation, I just ended up laughing, and maybe coughing, the mixture of laughing and crying at the same time, but just being in the moment and being in that emotional state in the moment, not waiting and internalizing, just living freely, being freely. And another thing about sort of find the joy in now is find peace when you're in the middle of chaos. When life is just hitting you with a storm, just one thing after another thing and after another thing, and you feel like everything is spiraling out of place, sometimes the best anchor is just peace, just finding calm, quiet, tapping into your inner power so that you can conquer it and get through it. So learning to find peace in the middle of chaos, in the middle of the storm, has been so beneficial for me in just quashing stress and anxiety, knowing that I have the means within me, even if I don't know what the means is at this point in time, but I have the means to get through it. And I'll cultivate the skill set because my thirst for survival is strong. I am a survivor, and I will push through whatever life puts me through. And I guess this all sums up to the power of claiming your present is really your own. And stress and anxiety, worry, these kind of chip away at your power and hide your power from you because they pull you into the future, or they leave you stuck in the past. But life is truly a gem. You find real joy in life when you find opportunities to just sit in this present moment, find joy in this present moment, find peace in this present moment. And sometimes it means adopting different attitudes and values that will help you get there. It means recognizing that life isn't over when things get rough. It means recognizing that life is about the yin and the yang, the good and the bad, the good times and the hard times, and recognizing you are equipped with everything you need to push through both of those things. And as I mentioned before, life has a certain way of really handing it to you when you live your authentic life. I'm not sure why this is the case, but when you are who you are truly, you can really deal with some heavy hits as a result of that. But stand out anyway. Stand out in your light. Be who you are. Don't make yourself small to make other people feel comfortable. Don't worry or be anxious or be stressed out about other people's expectations of you, and live up to the expectations that you have of yourself. So that was this video. I wanted to keep it succinct, but these are definitely my top 3 methods to manage and overcome stress and anxiety, and I really hope that they were beneficial to you. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time.